Good morning, Primary 2-3. This morning we're starting a brand new maths topic. Because it is a brand new maths topic, I thought it'd be a good idea for me to talk through the PowerPoint here with you, and that way I can help with a few wee questions we might have, hopefully to iron them out, and to make sure that we pick up the key teaching points for today. Now I thought I'd also put my face on because I'm having a good hair day. No, I thought I'd put my face on because I think it makes it a little bit easier for me to connect with you and hopefully explain things. So this is our PowerPoint here, and I'll just double check this is working. Yep, that should be us there. So our topic is time. First up, we're going to start with a couple of wee questions. So our first question here, how many of you know how many seconds there are in 1 minute? I'll give you a wee second to think. 1 second. If you went for answer C, 55 seconds, it's not correct. If you went for answer B, which a lot of people go for, you would also be incorrect because it's not 100 seconds in 1 minute. It's actually 60 seconds. So we'll click on 60. Which we got correct. Our next one here. How many minutes are there in 1 hour? I'll give you a clue. It's very, very similar to the first question. Well, hopefully we all went for it, but the answer is C. There are 60 minutes in 1 hour. And perfectly, my laptop has stopped working just now. There we go. 60 minutes in an hour. So, how many hours are there in a day? For this one, it is not 60 again. There are actually 12 hours before midday, and there are 12 hours after midday. So we're looking for an answer that is the sum of 12 add on 12, which is A. Correct. Work this time. So, for today, what are our aims? Well, let's just double check we're on the right slide to begin with, because that seems like that has gone way far away from where I was hoping it would go to, which it has. So, hours in a day and current slide. So, how many days are there in 1 week? It already feels like I've gone through 7 days just trying to record this PowerPoint, but in 1 week, there are, in fact, well, let's count. We've got Monday, we've got Tuesday, we've got Wednesday, we've got Thursday, we've got Friday, we've got Saturday, and we have Sunday, giving us a total of 7 days. And I won't click on it because it didn't work the last time. So, what we've talked about there are measures of time. Time can be measured in a number of different ways. We can measure time in seconds, if it's a very small space of time. For example, how long it would take you to jump up and down, or how long it would take you to say your name. Be very small space of time. Those are just two random examples. When you move on a little bit further, and you're looking at a measure of time that's slightly bigger than seconds, we move on to minutes. Now, minutes can be quite a small measure of time if you're talking maybe 1 minute, or you can go all the way up until 59 minutes, because after 59 we've got 60 minutes, which is actually 1 hour, so we'd probably call it an hour rather than 60 minutes, but that can span quite a wide range. So if you're looking at minutes, you might talk about how many minutes until the next bus arrived if you're at a bus stop, or how many minutes did it take you to run around the park if you're in kind of a medium-sized park. After minutes, as you can see, we move on to hours. Hours are when we're talking about a slightly bigger unit of time. So for example, how many hours are you at school a day? Or how many hours do you play Fortnite a day? Which for a few of you is quite a lot. We're getting close to days if we're measuring that unit. Or, for example, how many hours do you do gymnastics in a week? After hours, we move on to days, and then lastly in years, because years and days are still measures of time, they're just bigger measures of time. For what we're going to be looking at primarily, we're going to be looking at these first three, which I've just moved away from, which are seconds, minutes, and hours. So, there are different ways that you can measure time. You can use different items, in fact, to measure time. Let's see who recognises some of them. We have a clock. We have, well, in fact, we've got what's called an analog clock. And an analog clock is when you've got one of those clock faces with the hands that move around, usually in a circle shape. That's why I'm doing it in a circle. The second one is what's called a digital clock. Now, a digital clock you might see as some people have a digital watch. Some people have, usually alarm clocks are digital, and it's just a different way of displaying the time. Exact same time you're talking about. If it was 3 o'clock on this clock and 3 o'clock here, it would be the exact same way, only this time you're looking at minutes, tens of minutes, hours, and tens of hours. Last one here, quite an uncommon one. You don't tend to see these unless it's in maybe a board game, or some people may have one of these kicking about their house. It's very unlikely. You have an hourglass which measures time, which you turn over and you see how long it takes the sand to go from one side to the other. Last two we've got here are watches, which can be analog or digital, and a stop clock here. If you're talking about, imagine you're maybe doing a sporting activity, maybe running a race, and you want to know how long it takes you, you click a wee button and then click a button to stop, and that would tell you your time in either minutes or seconds. So, let's look at 1 minute. As I've said before, 1 minute is 60 seconds. That means if you count to 60 and you're doing it at a kind of an average speed, so you're not going really, really quickly, but not counting too slowly either, that will roughly take you to 1 minute. So what do you think we can do in 1 minute? Let's have a look. I want you to try some of these tasks on the next few slides to understand what 1 minute actually feels like. So here are my first four. You can either choose to count how many times you can touch your toes in 1 minute. You might need someone to help you time this with either a watch or a clock or a stopwatch if you've got one. Look at how many times you can count up to 10 in 1 minute. How many pieces of rubbish you can put in the bin in 1 minute. Good wee way to tidy a room. How many different words you can write down in 1 minute. And then I've got four more here that you can have a look at. What I want you to do is, I want you to pause the video here, have a wee look through the PowerPoint and choose maybe one on each slide and get someone to give you a wee hand, or if you can do it yourself, that's perfect. If you're using an analog clock, if we go back, if we're using an analog clock, we're taking the time it takes for the wee second hand, which we don't have here, unfortunately, to go all the way around, or the time it takes this big hand here to move on to the next wee gap. Or if you're using one of the digital clocks here, it'll be the time it takes the minute hand to move up one as well, or one of the stop clocks here to time it. Might need a wee adult to help you with that. So, choose a couple, have a go at timing yourself, and that will give you a good idea of how long 1 minute actually is. And you're playing again. So, welcome back. What I have here is our aim for the lesson today and our success criteria. Just if we remember, our success criteria is how are we going to be successful in our learning today. So, your aim is, or your learning intention, we are learning to use different measures of time. You're aiming to use different measures of time. And how will you know you've been successful or you've picked up our learning points today? You need to be able to measure time using seconds, measure time using minutes, and you can order the different units of time, so going from seconds all the way up to years. So you have 2 tasks to do today. Task number 1 is to complete the ordering worksheet. Now the ordering worksheet, it will give you different units of time. So you'll have seconds, minutes, you might have weeks, months, years. Your job is to put them in order from what is the smallest unit up to the biggest. So if you think minutes is smaller than hours, you'd put that before hours. And then there's one more before that as well, see if you can remember it. So you're doing that task first to give you a wee idea of measuring how long it takes, or looking at the different measurements of time. Your second task is to complete the second worksheet. You will need a device to measure time in seconds, because the second worksheet is looking at how many things you can do in 1 minute, I believe. So you'd have I tell a lie, boys and girls. This is when I probably should have checked this before starting the PowerPoint. It is, I believe, you've got to time yourself how long it takes you to do something. That's it. It's how long it takes you to do something. So how long did it take you to do 10 star jumps, or how long does it take you to write your name 10 times? You've got to time yourself. Guess how long you think it will take you first, where it has the wee column for estimating. Estimating is just another word for guessing. So you'll guess how long it will take, and then you time yourself to see how long you actually take. And let's see if you can have a rough idea of how quickly you can do things. Quickly get the camera off me because I'm sweating now trying to go through all these points. And that's us here. That's your last point for our PowerPoint. So going back, we're looking at measuring time using seconds, which we'll get a wee chance to do, looking at using minutes, and then ordering different units of time. Today we're working as a whole class on this because I just want to make sure we get these main teaching points before we move on to slightly more challenging work. So it might be a little bit easy, the work today, or it might be a little bit hard. It'll just give me an idea of how or where we are with looking at time, because time's a funny one. You sometimes find that some boys and girls just pick it up really quickly, whereas other boys and girls, even boys and girls in high school, can sometimes find things about time quite tricky. So we'll take our time, as it were, and we'll just start with a wee general look at time and measuring time before we move on to looking at clocks or other different learning points. So I hope you found this video useful. I hope I haven't had a bogey up my nose or something for the whole time, but if there are any problems, boys and girls, as always, I'll be here to help. And don't panic, it's our first time looking at this. As we do it a bit more, it'll hopefully come a little bit easier. So good luck today with your tasks. Take your time, make sure we finish both tasks, and we can have a wee chat about it on Wednesday when we have our question and answering session. So I'll see you later, boys and girls. Have a great day.